All the work you're doing, he's taking credit for it.
So it got so bad between me and my dad that we walking past each other in the yard and we shoulder bumped each other. And he knew I didn't fear him anymore. I feared my dad up to that day. And when I lost that fear of my dad, he knew it. You know, one time I told him, we were nose to nose in the eye. I said, let me tell you something. I told you before, and I'm telling you again. When I get out, nobody ever bother me or my family, any of those guys. As anybody bothers us for anything, I says, they're going to remember that they bothered the wrong person. He says, does it include me? I says, it depends which side you choose. I said, I don't want nothing to do with anybody. I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. I'm minding my own business. I'm just living my life. But nobody better get in my way.
What did he say to you?
He just looked at me. Okay, all right. And during this time, I started deciding, what am I going to do? He wanted to bring me back in. And he's working on our relationship, but everything was about bringing me back into this life.
You're already sentenced at this point.
I'm in jail. We're in jail.
Yeah.
I'm already 8 months. I'm over a year down. I'm 8 months with my dad. I'm doing great time, and he sees it. So if I was doing bad time and I decide to wear a wire, my father would have knew right away because he was really good at it. Twice on the street, he caught people like that. But he's seen the great time I was doing.
So what did he do when he caught people on the streets?
He just walked away from them. I mean, what are you going to do? A guy's wired, probably has the FBI around. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
He knew right away both times. He knew right away. So was your
dad real aware about like police and everything? So he wouldn't do stupid things.
No, he was very, very aware. Very smart, very calculated. You know, very, very military stylish like that. So anyways, I had to come down to a decision of what am I going to do here? Okay, am I going to wait till me and my dad get home? We're going to probably have another confrontation, and this time I'm going to be dead. Because in my story, which I know I passed, was when he knew he couldn't control me one day, he set me up, had me in a garage, put a gun in my face, tried to kill me. I got out of that garage. I never thought I was going to get out of that garage. But when I got out of that garage, I said, I'll never trust my dad again. It's a longer story, but I know we're a little, you know, with time and stuff. It's in my book in detail. So
I'll put a link for your book in the description down below. If anyone wants to get his book, it'll be in the description down below. You can buy his book.
Thank you, Bill. So, you know, in life, sometimes you have to make decisions, but all your choices suck. But you got to make a decision. You can't just sit back. Otherwise, the consequences. So I came down to either waiting until my dad got home and me and him confront each other. But my dad was good at what he did. And one of us is going to wind up dead. One of us is going to wind up in jail. Or cooperate with the FBI. I'm thinking, cooperate with the FBI. I don't know. The FBI could be like my father in the mob. I don't know the FBI in my life. The worst thing you can do is cooperate with the government. That's the lowest form of life in my neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be obligated to them. I don't want to be obligated to my father. I don't want to be obligated to the FBI. So I came up with a plan. I went to the prison library. I put on winter gloves. I typed a letter so there was no handwriting. I didn't put nothing personal in there in case it got intercepted. And I sent a letter to the FBI saying, hey, you know, my father's a sick man. I want to help you keep him locked up forever. Nobody can know for my safety. You know, not even my lawyers, anybody. And that's what started this whole Operation Families thing. So it took them months to come out. When they come out, all they kept asking me is, what do you want? I said, I don't want nothing. I says, here's what I really want. I don't want to be obligated to you guys. So I'll do all my time. I'll pay all my fines. Okay. But I'm only going to cooperate against my dad. I'm not going to be your guy to go out there for the mob or anything like that.
Yes. Did they want you to get other guys too besides your dad?
Somewhere along the line, they asked me to, but they couldn't force me because, you know, I was doing all my time and everything. And they've never had somebody just volunteer like that out of nowhere.
Yeah,
they thought at first that I had a fight with my dad. So the one agent in charge wanted to get out there and get me in front of a grand jury right away. Well, a lifelong prosecutor, a guy named Mitch Mars, who was a very smart man, came out to see me. When he left, he told those guys, that kid is fine. He's doing great time. His head is in the right place. He's not mad at his dad.
How long have you been there at that point?
It was I was at that prison for 8 months. Then I was another 4 or 5 months in MCC before I went there. So I was down over a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then and then they came. So it was about.
And how much were you How much time were you facing? All like you and your dad.
Oh no, my dad was he got a 10-year sentence. I got a 5-year sentence, but I got accepted in a drug program, which gets you 18 months off plus your good time, so it comes to about 3 years, and that's exactly what I did, just a little less than 3 years.
Yeah. When you got rounded up, what were the charges you got brought up on?
They were from an old case: extortion, racketeering, mail fraud, intent to defraud the IRS, RICO.
And Nick got this too. Your uncle Nick got wrapped up in all this too, right?
Yeah, my uncle Nick got 7 years. Yeah, it was a very weak case on the government, but we all pleaded out, and that was my idea to plead out because I'll tell you why. I was looking at 12 years if I fought it. Okay, they have a 97% conviction rate in the federal system.
Yes, they do.
Flat out non-cooperating, I'm looking at 5 years. Drug program, good time, 3 years. My kids are going to still be young when I get in, right?
Yeah.
When I get out. So that's why I did it. It was a business decision.
Yeah.
Jail was good for me. Okay. And when I look at it, when you ask, are you sorry you wore the what? Oh, and that's another thing. People are like, oh, well, my dad tried to say in defense that he was bragging to me. No, my dad on those tapes wanted me to come back in, and he was re-grooming me, let me know who's in charge now, who you got to respect, who you got to watch out for. You make sure to see who's doing this. So this is why we were going through all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why I was able to get him where I got him. And another thing my dad taught me, 2 ways people talk, right? Anger or alcohol. Well, he didn't drink. We were in prison. So I got him with anger. Pit somebody against another. I pit my uncle against my dad. And
you use psychology on him.
Yeah, and my dad believed that my uncle was bad-mouthing him in another prison and thought that my uncle might not hold up if things happened. And I also made my dad believe that there was a guy in the street my dad didn't like that was cooperating. And it was weird because the guy wound up getting out on bond on a murder charge. And I says, how does that happen, Dad? He's got So we really played it. And they actually, because my dad wanted him killed, the FBI had to let him know that, there's people, there's a contract, and he told the FBI, fuck you, Wow. So anyways, so through these conversations, they were very hard with my dad in prison, okay, because it's my dad, and we both were put in the same place for a reason, okay? Mm-hmm. Bigger than us, I believe, there was a chance to work this out, get on with our lives. He had more money than God. I wanted to work this out so bad. I wanted to do the right thing.
I don't understand why he didn't just go with, let you live your life. If he had everything he needed.
When I got out, I was going to do everything I could, watch out for his wife, his kids, his new wife, his kids. I was going to go and get lawyers and try to get him out shorter. I was going to work on it. And, I looked at it like this. I was in prison for a lot of stuff I didn't get caught for. Okay. I went to prison for my dad. I never got caught for anything I did. The only time I went to prison was for my dad. So he taught me well.
Yeah.
So, and I got out, and the trial was one of the biggest trials in the history of Chicago. It was the first time that,
it's the first time that anyone has ever talked to the government since the Al Capone days in Chicago.
Well, yeah, it's big for a lot of reasons. First of all, there was over 1,214 gangland slayings from the early 1900s with 14 convictions. In this case alone, there was 18 convictions with 40 murders solved, a lot of major murders too. First time a made member in the Chicago mob ever cooperated was my uncle. Well, my dad put a hit out on my uncle, and they blotched it in another prison, so he started cooperating.
How did they blotch it? What?
Well, one of the guys that got the gun smuggled in was
they got a gun smuggled into prison?
Got a gun smuggled into prison in a high security, was bragging to his cellmate who dropped a note to the warden so he can get time off, and they confiscated the gun and locked everybody down.
That is insane. I never heard nothing like that in my life.
Yeah, and that's what I was told. And if you go try back to talk to anybody now, they'll tell you they don't know what you're talking about. But either they made it up and locked everybody down, or it really happened and they don't want anybody to know that there was a gun smuggled in a high security prison.
What's the story with the priest?
So my dad wound up getting life in prison, and because he threatened the prosecutor and he put $150,000 hit on my head and my uncle's head during the trial, and he had a fake bomb put my brother's house too, because my brother wouldn't cooperate for him against me and my uncle.
Was he trying to send you messages and call you while he's in there?
He's trying to do different things. Yeah, there's a whole story. I write a lot about that in the book, but. So my dad is locked down in a terrorist lockdown, and the only one you could talk. My dad's a master manipulator. The only one you could talk to without a phone or through a glass is the priest.
Yeah.
So what we're taught in this life is we're master manipulators. I want to win you over, Bill. I want you to think you're my friend. Then I'm going to find out what you have that I can take, and then I'm going to find out your weaknesses, your vices, and that's how I'm going to exploit it. Well, that's what my dad did with the priest. He found out he was retiring soon. He likes money. So long story short, he told the police that in a summer home in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, he had the priest passing out messages to his crew on the street in the Holy Bible. Okay, this is a terrorist lockdown. It's like the super mask kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
He tells the priest that the government confiscated my house in Wisconsin. I want you to call the real estate agent. It's up for sale. Tell them you want to see it. You're thinking about buying it. You're going to go with my guys up there. While you're keeping them busy, my guys are going to sneak in. Got $1 million in cash and an old Stradivarius violin that used to be owned by Liberace. When you get it out, we want the violin. You're going to keep the cash. So he called the real estate agent, and the real estate agent said, it's under contract. I'm not showing it to you. Bottom line, through interceptions or something, the priest gets caught. And so they never found the violin. They thought it was a Liberace Stradivarius, but it turns out it's not. It was a violin that my dad gotten from a juice loan. It's probably.
Does the priest go to prison for this?
What?
Does the priest go to prison for this?
Well, he got sentenced, but I think they went easy. I think he got sentenced to a few years. Yeah, so it was a violin that was worth a few $100,000. So that's how my father. How powerful he was. Even in the heaviest lockdown, he could still figure out a way to get things done. He died in 2012 after a handful of years locked down like an animal. My dad's favorite day was always Christmas. He dies on Christmas Day of heart failure.
When's the last time you ever talked to your dad?
Last time I seen my dad was when we were in court looking at each other. The last time I talked to him was when I went to visit him. Let's see, it's 2008, about 2001, I think it was, because I was going back to visit him because the government seen it was getting so hard on me in prison with my dad. And you got to understand, when I wore that wire in prison, they weren't monitoring me. I was on my own. I had to go to an office. If anybody see me going or leaving that office, I'm dead on the yard. I won't know until they surround me and kill me.
Yeah.
And if I get caught, they're just sitting there waiting. Either I come back or the prison alarm goes off and I'm dead. And they seen it wearing on me because what's wearing on me? It's my dad. Plus everything I got to do. I didn't feel it. I didn't see it, but they seen it. So they finally said enough is enough. He almost found the wire one time by accident. He wanted to see a tattoo I got and started grabbing my shirt to lift it up. And the wire I had that time was an old time wire because the one they brought wasn't working. So I still decided to wear it anyways. And had I pulled my shirt up, the whole prison yard would have been on me. I would have been dead.
Yeah, they don't play around when they find somebody like that. No.
Yeah, they got me out, and I went to another prison, finished my time, went home, and then the trial started. So it's, I use a lot of what I learned. I wish things would have been different with me and my dad, but I do believe that I always thought he was going to go to hell, and he's going to haunt me till the day I die. But I honestly believe that he finally got it by dying on Christmas Day, that he's up in heaven, and he's looking down at me. He's saying, I know you better than anybody, Pelly.
Yeah.
You do the right thing. I'm watching you. So I use that. I use that plus my kids as my powers every day. I had a second chance with my kids.
Yeah.
They were young at the time, but those are who I answer to.
They don't ever have to see you in that life. They don't ever have to see that. They don't have to see you in prison again.
Yeah. So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell, Bill.
Yeah.
It's 40 years trying to combine in an hour for you.
Yeah.
I do have a lot in the book. I put these up for my tours. I don't know. Can you see them?
Yep.
Okay. And then, if you want to go to my website, I do sell the books off the website if you want them signed. And I'm working on, I'm going to probably be expanding the tours to Las Vegas soon too, because a lot of our story has to do with Las Vegas. And also, I could just say that I am very close to finally having my major motion picture done with A-list actors, directors, and everything. So
awesome.
They announce it soon. So I don't want to
Congratulations, man.
Thanks. So and it's more of a, so what I promote here is a family story. Okay. Yes, I was born into this, but what I try to show, what I talk to people about is first of all, redemption and how you can reinvent your life. It's never too late. It's
a prime example.
Yeah, it might be harder, but you do it. And then the fact of what I tell people is, you watch these movies all the time and you see the cool parts, but what you don't see is when you take the street and bring it in your home, it corrodes the family structure. My dad did it. I wind up doing it, and it broke up our families. It didn't need to be.
So when's the last time you talked to your uncle?
I talked to my uncle a couple of years ago. I talk once in a great while to my uncle because of everything that happened. The way I got my dad, I implicated my uncle in the murder. It was the only way I can do it, but I knew my uncle wanted to get out. When they tried to kill him, that was the worst thing they ever did, because my uncle was a walking encyclopedia when it came to all that stuff. Yeah. So basically all I did was open the doors. But what my uncle did with the tapes I had on my father, and my uncle testifying, never hearing the tapes, he just decimated the Chicago mob, decimated it.
Oh, so he took down other people.
Oh, my uncle took down everybody, all the top bosses, everything.
Wow. And so is he
left?
Is he still in the witness protection program?
Well, I always ask, one thing I'm not allowed to do is talk about telling you if he is or if he isn't or where he's at, for his safety, for his reason. It's not my right to.
I understand. My
uncle also kind of caught the short end, because when Sammy Gravano testified, he pretty much got right out, When my uncle testified, he still had to do another 5 years in prison. So he understood what I was doing when I did it. And he told some of the agents, I forgive my nephew. I know what he was doing. It had to be done, but we'll talk, we were sending messages back and forth. But when he got hit with that other 5 years, the day of the trial, when he thought he was leaving, he kind of took it out on me, and it got upset with me. And maybe it's just right too, He had said,
so he was about to get released, and they gave him another 5 years after he cooperated?
Yeah, because there's no guarantee that the judge has the last say. So if you do the right thing, so they didn't give him time served. So he did he's one of the maybe top 5 guys that turned, okay? And he did more time than any of the other guys. So many guys at the beginning, when they started cooperating, went out and got more trouble and all this stuff, that they weren't being so lenient on these guys no more.
Yeah.
So he still had to do 5 years in a witness protection prison. So he was upset with me about that. And, he had made a comment to some agents, if Frankie wouldn't have cooperated, I wouldn't be here. And the agent's like, Nick, are you serious? You both would either been dead or back in prison. Where are you getting that?
For life. Yeah.
When he first got out, the guy running our crew was killed by the mob. Okay. And that's, my dad wanted me to go take over the crew with him. Okay. That's how bad my dad wanted me. On these tapes, my dad tells me the first guy he wants me to kill as soon as I get out. So he was serious, and he wanted to lock me in right away. Yeah. So we knew it was coming. There were power moves going on when I first got out of prison, and they were going to probably try to take us down one at a time, let alone me and my uncle and my dad were all fighting. I mean, I wasn't fighting with my uncle, but me and my uncle were fighting against my dad.
And you're always on the spotlight. Spotlight's on you all the time. So
yeah, we're working on it. What's nice is that me, my brothers, friends close to me. I've had time to work on it with all of them and work on stuff. But yeah, one of the main things I said was I'm not taking down the mob, and I didn't. You know, there was a lot of guys. I sent word out. I said, look, I'm not going after anybody. This is between me and my dad. Don't get involved, and you know, you won't be involved. You know, and you're not going to know until the trial's over. I can't guarantee you, but you'll see it when it's over. And a lot of people did. You know,
trust me, if people were in your shoes, who knows what they would do? You know.
I didn't do it to do the right thing. I didn't do it to cut my time short. I did it because I was in a major war with my dad. And that's even worse because it's my dad, you know, and I sat down and thought about it for the longest time. Okay. But once I made up my mind, it was about survival. I need to take care of my kids and take care of my family. And when a guy's not being loyal to you, how could you be loyal to him?
Yeah.
And whether it's your father or not. So, you know, but it's always been hard because it was my father, you know, and
if you know, just some guy and make it 10 times easier. But, but man, I don't.
You know, I get a lot of feedback sometimes on sites and stuff where people call me rat. They tell people that I'm on heroin because they could see it in my eyes. First of all, I hate needles. I've never touched anything but powder cocaine. And so I love when these people, the feedback. I don't take it personal. They have the right. Rat, yeah, you can put it up there. I mean, I cooperated, sure. You know, I don't look at it like a rat because I still walk the streets of Chicago. I didn't run. I didn't hide. I didn't do it to get out of my time or my obligations. But you know what? You want to give me the title? That's fine. You give me whatever you want. Although very seldom do I have anybody ever saying it to my face.
Yeah. Do you have any things in the future moving forward with charities or anything like that?
No, not right now. I don't. I was volunteering time for people that just get out, going and talking to them and everything. I want to get back to that. Some of the people I was working with are not in that life anymore. So so I kind of lost touch, and I've just been so busy because I still work a full-time job. You know, I'm doing all this. You know, some people think I'm just sitting back and I make millions off my book or some. That's not the way it is. You know, so I work hard. I work 40 to 60 hours a week, and I just do the right thing. And I try to be kind. And I try.
Well, you did the right thing coming on my show, man. I'm the little guy, and I appreciate you a lot.
Yeah, we all got to stick together. I want to see you, you know, do what you need to do in the right way. I wish you the best. You know, so anytime somebody asks me like that, you know, very seldom will I go on different news shows or all that, or journalist shows. No.
Yeah, I know that.
Not unless they pay me, because no, I'll go on anybody that's lived it and is trying to make a better life for themselves.
Yeah.
Well, wish you the best. And, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Frank. And man, maybe another time we could do this again and do some other stories. I can drill up some stuff.
Sure. But, down the line, there's a lot to talk about. You know, I mean, there's a lot that went on in prison that people they want to know. You know, people are intrigued with the prison life period. You know, and everything I did, and in the way the warden didn't want to let me wear a wire in prison because he said he's going to get killed. He's not going to get killed on my watch. So
that's what we could do. We could do the prison story episode about.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, but we'll figure out something down the line.
All right, cool. Make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, notification bell so you could get my videos every time they drop. And I'm going to leave a copy of the link for Frank's book in the description if you want to check it out. I'll leave a link for all his information. You can check him out on Instagram and all that. And thank you for joining me. And I wish you guys the best. Till next time.